Okay, now today I want to talk about a novel, a debut novel from a writer who will need no introduction. That's Martina Cole. And the novel I want to talk about is her first novel, which was published in the early 90s, and that was Dangerous Lady, which was a novel that put Martina on the world stage, so to speak, and she's been a best-selling novelist ever since. Now, I remember the book being published. There was a lot of a frenzy around the publication. I remember during late 91, I think it was, or mid 92, I had a writer friend of mine, the late horror writer Steve Harris, staying at my house, and Steve had just had his first book published, Adventureland, by Headline Publishing, and Headline Publishing happened to be the publisher that snapped at Martina Cole for a record advance of £150,000. Now, I don't know what Steve received for his book, but it was certainly nowhere near that, and he was flabbergasted by the sum that Martina had been paid as an advance. And the only thing I can say is that £150,000 is a fortune, a lot of money now, but then it was an absolute fortune. And it's also $148,000 more than I've ever been paid as an advance for any of my books. But it was interesting how Martina got the record-breaking advance. She was a single mum struggling to make ends meet, and she'd always been a writer. She'd always enjoyed writing. She hadn't been published at this point, but she'd had several works, in the drawer kind of thing. And she dug out a novel that she'd written back maybe 10 years earlier called Dangerous Lady, which told of a character, Mara Ryan, and her rise to the top of the underworld, the London underworld, when she eventually replaced her brother, Michael Ryan, as the leader of the Ryan organization. So Martina at this time looked at her list, got a copy of Writers and Artists Yearbook. I've got a few copies here, though I haven't bought a copy of that for a couple of years, but she looked in Writers and Artists Yearbook and picked an agent because of the fact that she liked her name. Excuse me. Anyway, Martina selects an agent simply because she likes the sound of their name. Then that agent was Darley Anderson, who Martina thought was a woman, so she dials up the number. And gets to speak to Darley Anderson himself. And when she explains the type of book she's written, he says something like, and apparently he's got a very cultured accent, very well-spoken gentleman, and he says something like, "Women don't write that sort of book, but send it over, I'll take a look." So Martina then quickly bundles it together and sends it over, and that would have been by mail. Which, as I remember back in the day, you wasn't making a lot of money from your writing, so you'd struggle to pay for the postage on this package. Anyway, she sends it over. She gets a call a couple of days later from Darley Anderson himself, and he says, "Hi, is that Martina?" And she says yes, and he says, "Martina, you're going to be a star." And it went from there. The book he became her agent. He sent the book out to several publishers, which started a fierce bidding war. So there was going to be an auction. But right at the 11th hour before the auction, Headline Publishing phoned up and made an offer to stop the auction. They made an offer of £150,000. And so, as you can imagine, the young, struggling novelist Martina Cole was absolutely flabbergasted, but this was it. This was the beginning of her legend. And now, more than 20 books later, Martina is a bona fide star, massive bestseller, and a well-known author. So let's go back, though, and talk about Dangerous Lady.
Why didn't I lock it that night?
So safe.
Then he wouldn't have come in.
So clever.
And I wouldn't have had to kill him.
She killed once.
I could never kill again.
It's quite incredible that I'd never read this book, Dangerous Lady, until now. As I said, I was very much aware of it. But during the period it was first published, my reading habits, I was on a the horror genre was at one of its most popular stages, and I was reading stuff by Stephen King, Peter Straub, James Herbert, Mark Morris, just so many authors, so I tended to bypass Martina Cole. And plus, I think that I was very young then, and other than Agatha Christie, I'm probably a few Ruth Rendells. I don't think I ever really read women authors, and I don't know. That was a oversight of mine, because I read a lot of women authors these days. But anyway, it took me all the way up to this period to read Martina Cole's Dangerous Lady, and I probably read 2-3 chapters of the book, you know, flowing along with the story, and all of a sudden I found myself gripped in a way that a good book can grip you, you know, where you suddenly live in the lives of the characters on the pages, and I can see why the publisher's Edline was so desperate to sign the author that they offered such a mentally enormous advance. You know, that must have been a risk for them, because you've got to remember Martina Cole was an unknown entity. She wasn't a named author, you know. If that book had flopped, you know, Martina Cole would have probably been set up for a good many years with just her advance. The story of Dangerous Lady is sprawling epic, like an East End version of The Godfather. It starts off post-war with the Ryan family, and throughout then you see the rise of the Ryans as mobsters. The main member of the Ryan family is Michael Ryan, an homosexual, but the eldest brother in the family. And you see his rise, and Maura, of course, is innocent. She starts dating a young man without her brother Michael knowing, and without the rest of her family knowing, but she's horrified when she discovers that the man who she's becoming more and more attached to is a policeman, and she knows that if her brother Michael finds out that she's dating a policeman, there'll be all hell to pay, so it's kept a secret. Martina Cole throws everything into this book. We've got the IRA, we've got the Cray twins, we've even got Charlie Richardson's mob, we've got paedophilia, we've got corrupt politicians, corrupt police officers, we've got a massive gold bullion haul, we've got it all. Earlier on in the book, there's a funeral of one of the Ryan family, and it's at this point that the book really gets going, and there's the funeral scene gets cameo appearances from the Crays and Charlie Richardson, which helps build, for anyone who knows or has a limited knowledge of Gangland, London during the 60s, this builds the image of how important an underworld family the Ryans were, because to get the Crays, you know, and Charlie Richardson coming to show their respect, it does give an air, and Martina Cole understands the world of the underworld, or at least I assume she does, since I don't know anything about it myself, but I assume she does, because the underworld she creates is so realistic, and the reader really believes that, yeah, this is what it's like, this is what it's like. There is some problematic language in the book, and attitudes, I suppose, if you're an oversensitive modern reader. You know, if you're part of the woke kind of movement where you've got to be triggered by everything, because there is attitudes throughout the book that were of their time, and now we would class as bigotry, homophobia, but it is of its time, you know, and I'm a great believer that an author needs to reflect the times that their novel, the work they're working on, is set. And of course we mustn't forget that when Martina Cole first wrote Dangerous Lady, it was sometime in the early 80s. The book was published in 1991, but it had been dug out of a drawer. It had been written, Martina's, I've heard her say in several interviews, 10 years before that, so that would have made it 80, 81, possibly even the late 1970s. So the attitudes in the book are very much of their day. Now, as the story progresses, it's very interesting, because we kind of see the rise of the Ryan family, and Michael Ryan is for a great part of the book the lead character. But we also see Maura's transformation from a sweet, innocent young girl into a hard-bitten gangland leader, and it's very, very well done. Dangerous Lady is an excellent novel. I really enjoyed it, and although I avoided reading it for a great many years, I am now already on my third Martina Cole, so I'm going to go through the author's books, because she's a fantastic writer. It's interesting to note that her books are the most borrowed from prison libraries, and they're also the most shoplifted books on the high street. So what further recommendation could you want? Anyway, that's Dangerous Lady by Martina Cole, and if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, I'll be talking more about books, whiskies. I'm just drinking a basic white and Mackay here, but it's pretty good, in future videos, so please give me a like, a subscribe, and leave a comment below if you want to talk about any of the subjects as I've raised in this video. And also, if you click the little bell, you'll be notified whenever I post new content. So for now, that's all I've got to say, and thank you, and enjoy Dangerous Lady with Martina Cole. Cheers.